So factorising, you must remember factorising is writing an equivalent expression but which has brackets in it. Okay? Your first decision is, does both terms, so in this case 6x squared and 42x, have something in common? Well, yes, they do. If they have something in common, that's a single bracket. So you draw a single bracket. The highest common factor of both terms goes on the outside. So the highest common factor of 6x squared and 42x is 6, because both goes into 6 and 42, and also x, because there's an x in both. So what do you times by 6x, okay, to get 6x squared? Well, that is x. Alright, what do you times by 6x to get 42x? Well, 6 times 7, okay, is 42, and I've already got the x, so that's the answer. So the answer is 6x bracket x plus 7. Just double check in your head, what does that times that equal? 6x squared, correct. And what does that times that equal? 42x, correct. So, what happens when we have nothing in common? Here you've got an example, x squared plus 5x plus 6. There's not an x in everything, there's not a highest common factor, there's not a number in everything. So, we have to factorise it into what's called double brackets. And I'm going to show you two techniques. Let's draw that line a little bit straighter so I've got plenty of room. That's a little bit better. The first one is called factorising by inspection, and it's almost sort of guessing. You know that two terms is a technical word, they're going to have to times together to get x squared. So the only option is x and x. And then you're going to know that the next two numbers inside the brackets are going to have to times together to get 6. So let's say, for example, that might be 6 and 1. And then what you do is expand out and see if you get the same as the question. So if I expand out, I'll get x squared, that one. Then I'll get 1x. Then I'll get 6x. And then I'll get 6. Simplify that to x squared plus 7x plus 6. Clearly, that is not the same as the question. So that means, okay, I've done it wrong. So what I've got to do is rub all of this out and start again, but change my numbers. Now, while I'm doing this, you might start thinking, what could those numbers be? Because I almost had it. So what could those numbers be? So I've tried 6 and 1. Okay, if I tried it the other way around, I get exactly the same result. So got to change the numbers. Two numbers could be 2 and 3. Let's check. Well, it'll be x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 6. Simplify that to x squared plus 5x plus 6. So my final answer is x plus 2, x plus 3, which is the factorised version. So the other technique, okay, this is a little bit more complicated, but what I suggest is you watch this back again, watch both ways and pick which one you prefer. Okay, this is the method. You start off with the x squared, but you split the middle term into 2. Now the two numbers you split it up into must times together to get the 6. Okay, so it must times together to get that 6. So if I split the 5, it must be 2x and 3x, because that adds together to get the 5, we'll split it up, and it also times together to get 6. Now that may look very familiar to the other method. The next few steps are a little bit different. So what you do is, you first factorise the first bit. Okay, so those two terms there, you're going to factorise those. So that would be x on the outside and x plus 2 on the inside. And then you're going to factorise these two here. Alright, so the final two terms. So that would be 3x plus 2. And what you should find is the same bracket in both bits. And then your answer is quite straightforward. It's whatever's in the bracket, okay, and then in another bracket, it's whatever's not in the bracket. So I've got x, here look, and I've got a plus 3. And as you can see, that's the same answer as the other technique, just done slightly different. So, this one, I'm only going to show you the technique I did on the right hand side of the previous example. If you like to use the process of factorising by inspection, by just guessing numbers that go in and constantly expanding out to get the right numbers, then use that technique. Okay, here's the process I did on the right hand side, but with a slight extra step because of this number in front of the x squared. What you do, if you times them together, you want a number that times together to get minus 6, 3 times minus 2, but add together to get 5x. Add together to get the 5. So two numbers that times together to get minus 6, but add together to get 5 would be positive 6 and negative 1. So they're my numbers I'm going to use. So what I do is, I write the expression again, but instead of 5x in the middle, I'm going to use the plus 6 and the minus 1. So that's plus 6x and minus 1x. And the minus 2 still on the end. Factorise this first bit. Okay, that's going to be 3x bracket x plus 2. Then factorise this next bit. That is going to be minus 1 bracket x plus 2. So therefore my final answer is x plus 2, because that's in the brackets, and the thing that's not in the brackets is the 3x minus 1. I could double check that by expanding out, and it should work. Again, another example. Remember, times these two together, so 2 times minus 7 is minus 14, and I want them to add to get the 5. Positive 5, it's quite important. So two numbers that times together to get minus 14, but add to get 5 will be positive 7 and negative 2. So I'm going to write the expression again, but instead of the 5x in the middle, I'm going to put plus 7x minus 2x, and then minus 7 on at the end. So, factorising this first bit, it'll be x bracket 2x plus 7. Factorising the next bit will be minus 1 bracket 2x plus 7. Remember, the brackets for this bit should be the same. So that means my answer is whatever's in the bracket, and then whatever's not in the bracket. One last example then, times these two together. So 6 times minus 4 is minus 24, so that's what I want them to times to get, and add to get minus 5, whatever's in the middle here. So two numbers at times together to get minus 24, but as to get minus 5 will be minus 8 and positive 3. So that's the numbers I'm going to use. So 6x squared, the minus 5x I'm going to change to minus 8x plus 3x, and then minus 4 at the end. Factorise the first bit. So I'm going to do, highest common factor would be 2x, bracket 3x minus 4. Okay, then factorise the next bit, I'm going to put plus 1, bracket 3x minus 4. Good news, because they are both exactly the same. So that means my final answer is whatever's in the brackets, and the other bracket is whatever isn't in the brackets.